Good morning. Welcome to day 14 of our journey through Job. Today we are talking about chapter 28, A Hymn to Wisdom. And it reminds me of the silly songs in the VeggieTales series, right? We would have these lessons about the Bible, and then all of a sudden this interlude, a hymn to wisdom. And that's my impression of chapter 28 here today. And what the notes on the documents and the studies, it calls this chapter a poetic interlude, an intermission, if you will, that separates the wisdom dialogue from the monologues of Job, Elihu, who is a new character we'll see here coming up in the next few days, and God. So in this chapter, we see a breaking away from the debates. We're all done with the debates. If you love the debates, I'm so sorry, we're done with those. If you're like, really, these have been going on too long, then we are done with those. But it's where Job asks, where can I find wisdom then? If I can't find it in my friends or in my theology or in what I thought about God, then where should I look? And he's earnestly seeking out a resolution. He's earnestly seeking out peace. And at this point, because he's realized that he can't find it in anyone else, in himself or in the people around him, or even in his community or his theology, that it must be from God, which is what he knew from the very beginning when we started on chapters 2 and 3. And yet Job is now coming full circle in his search, in his struggle, in his discourse, in his psychological battle. So Job asks in chapter 28, where can I find wisdom? And we read in verse 12, where can wisdom be found? And where is understanding located? In verse 23, God understands the way to wisdom and he knows its location. And so now we see Job focusing on, okay, if God has wisdom, where can I find it? And wisdom here in this chapter is defined as the wisdom that we see in Proverbs 1, 2 through 6. And its word in the Greek is hakma. And basically it means a knowledge that is coupled with the inner quality that embodies a heart and life in conformity with the purposes and character of God. That's a big definition, right? Knowledge coupled with an inner quality that embodies a heart and life in conformity with the purposes and character of God. And yet that sounds so soothing and reassuring to me. Basically, it's saying that wisdom is not simply a theoretical concept. It's not an intellectual pursuit, but it talks about an individual's behavior and conduct, using the knowledge that someone has and how do they apply it. That's wisdom. And so a simple definition of this for me is knowledge that does. Wisdom is knowledge that does. And Job has been asking for a face-to-face encounter. In chapter 19, verses 26 and 27, he's like, I want to talk to God face-to-face, right? I need to talk to somebody face-to-face and get up close and personal. I need to get to the root. I need to get to the details, the very fine details of what's going on here. I need to see the footnotes on this, right? But the wisdom poem here suggests that wisdom is not found by digging deeper. And it uses verbiage describing precious metals hidden in the earth and the ocean depths. But what the scriptures are telling us here is that you can acquire it by going deeper, by going further, by acquiring more knowledge. That it's a broad cosmic view that we need, that we're looking for, that will satisfy, that will bring us peace when we're in search of wisdom. And so God is named as the source of wisdom for two reasons here. The first one is this, that God sees further than we do. He is omniscient. And in verse 24, we'll see that. For he looks to the ends of the earth and sees everything. And sometimes that's what we're like, our heart's desire, the pit in our stomach is asking for us to see everything. I just want to see everything, to know that, can I find comfort? Can I find resolution? Can I find, and unfortunately, the more times we say I is the further away we get from it. And so in this wisdom chapter, in this hymn to wisdom, we're acknowledging and looking up, we're drawing our eyes up at what is the full picture here. And we know that God has the full picture, that we don't have to have the full picture. And so it goes on to say in verse 25, when God fixed the weight of the wind and distributed the water by measure, when he established a limit for the rain and a path for the beginning. And what we're seeing here is that God sees differently than we do. Then he saw it, he recounted it, he understood it, he searched it out. And the question is, are we okay with that? Or are we going to continue in our own pursuit of framing things and figuring things out and trying to apply our limited reason and knowledge and perspective to something way bigger than us, much grander than us? And he's saying, well, you can keep searching, but you don't have to. You can live in peace and the fullness and joy of what you have right in front of you, trusting that I have all of that under control. See, God's lens of perspective is not limited by time or space. He knows our tomorrows and our yesterdays and our todays. He knows our family legacy and our line. He knows the blessings that he's called over our life and how that's going to play out over generations. So we don't have to be worried about that or caught up in that, because he has all of that in his hands. The lens by which we see the world is limited by our morality. It's tainted, it's skewed, it's biased by our own individual experiences, hurts, pains, and traumas. Our search for Chokmah then is a desire for the security that comes from understanding how things work, making a sense of it all. And in that perspective, when we go to verse 28, we can read it as an invitation into the security that comes from a fear of God. In verse 21, it says, the fear of the Lord, that is wisdom, and to turn from evil is understanding. See, fear here is awe and humility to be teachable, and only the creator of the universe knows its source, and he gives it to those who fear him. And so if we're looking for wisdom, we don't have to gather up evidence and knowledge and have discussions about it and dig to the depths of the earth and go to the depths of the ocean. What we do is we look at in awe at God. The fear of the Lord, that is wisdom. That is his invitation. That is his gift to us. He gives it to those who fear him. When I can look at God and be in awe of all that he's done and trust that he has all of it in his perspective, and he knows the beginning and the end, then I have acquired wisdom. Then the peace that surpasses all understanding infiltrates every part of my heart and my mind, all the way to the cellular level, to bring me peace and to bring me healing. And that's what we'll see in the next few days in the story of Job. So your reflection for today is this: where are you looking for wisdom? How can you find comfort in God's wisdom? How can you live out wisdom, a knowledge that does, in your circumstances today?